Help us recognize the champions in our communities. Submit your nominations by visiting kvnutalk.com. The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs.
KVNU News Time is 5:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update. Dennis Alex, chairman of the Northwest Band of Shoshone Nation, welcomed over 1,000 people gathered for the 161st anniversary of the Bear River Massacre. The memorial was held on Monday. Long stretches of cars lined both sides of Highway 91 near the Daughters of Utah Pioneers Monument, where the ceremony was held. The temperature was near 40 degrees warmer than the description of one of the largest massacres of Native Americans in the history of this country. The annual service brings members of the Shoshone tribe and others to memorialize the January 29, 1863 anniversary of when General Patrick Edward Connor and his soldiers from Camp Douglas attacked a sleeping Shoshone camp. The camp was a place where the Shoshone people wintered by hot springs just to the south along the Bear River and not far from the site of the monument. Shoshone records show the soldiers shot, raped, bludgeoned, and bayoneted between 270 and 400 Shoshone. The Shoshone fought back with the limited weapons they had, but the band was all but annihilated. Entire families were lost, and with them the records of their very existence. Idaho Governor Brad Little sent Anthony Perry, the Historic Sites Administrator at Idaho State Historical Society, to present a framed proclamation from his office. Vice Chairman Brad Lee Perry recounted the morning of the attack and updated the progress of restoring the interpretive site. Perry is the Natural Resource Director of the tribe and works for the U.S. Department of Reclamation. KVNU News Time is 5:05. KVNU weather for tonight: mostly clear, hazy, and patchy fog, low in the mid-20s. Partly cloudy Wednesday morning, then mostly sunny, but hazy through the day. Patchy morning fog again, high temperature in the lower 40s. And then by Thursday, 40% chance of rain developing in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy mid-40s, rain likely Thursday night into Friday. It's been cold here. 32 has been our high. It's 32 degrees right now at KVNU. The Duct Hunter reminds you to change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, call them at 435-770-4813. KVNU News Time is 5:06. It's about time to summon all princesses and princes to the 2014 Princess and Prince Party, to be held Saturday, February 10th at Castle Manor in Hyde Park. On KVNU's For the People program last week, Philanthropy Director for the Family Place Utah, Jennifer Anderson, told us about this year's party.
It is an incredible, magical event that we do, and of course the perfect location is Castle Manor for it. So as you approach this beautiful venue, it literally is a castle, and you just, from the moment you arrive, you just kind of teleport into this magical space, and all of the participants have a wonderful time every year.
As in past years, there are 2 sessions, 10 a.m. to noon or 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
And it's more of an open house type format, so you check in, and there's various stations for people to go to interact with these characters. We have activities and crafts. There's light snacks. We have dancing. It is fantastic. We highly encourage people to dress up however they would like as their favorite royalty, or just they can come as they are and be royal without dressing up.
The characters she mentioned are the princes and princesses that will be there, including Elsa, Belle, Cinderella, and more. Tickets are $20 and include 1 child and 1 adult entry. The event is expected to sell out, so get your tickets now at thefamilyplaceutah.org. You can also use the Pay It Forward option to purchase a ticket to be given to a low-income family. And a man and woman was injured after both fell through the ice at a Tooele Reservoir Monday night. Tooele City police said a woman fell through the ice at Settlement Canyon Reservoir shortly before 7 p.m. A man then went out to rescue her and was able to help her out of the icy water, but then he fell in and did not resurface. So the members of the Tooele police and fire departments responded and searched for hours for the man. A dive team, including an underwater robotic device, was called in to help with the search. At 11:20 p.m., the body of the man was recovered from the water. Further details about the man, such as his identity, were not made available out of respect and privacy for the family. The woman was taken to a local hospital to be treated for cold exposure. Both the man and the woman were in their early 20s, according to officials. Just under a year ago, a similar incident occurred at the same reservoir. A teenager lost his life after falling through the ice. KVNU News Time is 5:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. My brother Travis and I opened our first store here in Logan in 2010 by Big Five Sports. Recently, we opened our second location by Red Balloon Toys. We carry the world's best beds, IntelliBed Purple, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy Posturepedic. And yes, we are the ones that tease Lewiston once in a while. We're 6th-generation Cache Valley family, and chances are that you or your neighbor have bought a bed from us, and we value that more than anything. Come into the North or South My Mattress today and sleep better tonight. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally?
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands. Golden Spike Electric and Generac. Power you can count on.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, continuing to look at the Biden administration's moves in the Middle East after we lost 3 U.S. Army soldiers. What is Biden going to do as Commander-in-Chief, plus Clay?
We'll also break down the continued battle as we head to South Carolina with Trump versus Nikki Haley. All that and more will hang with you on the Wednesday edition of Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Feels like Tuesday. Tuesday has no feel.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. We have some updates from action on Capitol Hill today. It was actually a pretty quiet day on Capitol Hill. Relatively. As we just discussed with Shelley, they sponsor and pass too many bills. And I worry that the end result of this is that lawmakers sometimes even don't know for sure what they're voting yay or nay on. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we'll have that debate another day. One of the things discussed is how Utah can do more to help families. It's one of the ironies of Utah of late that, is a state that sort of bills itself as a family-oriented, great place to raise a family values place to be. Some of our social policy is actually not very family-friendly. And that has become obvious, and lawmakers are scrambling to try and patch some solutions together, including the governor's office of families, which was created as a way to sort of grease the wheels on all of this, and legislative action on everything from child tax credits to, again, trying to figure out some way to increase access to child care here in Utah, which is one of the biggest drivers to keeping people out of the workforce. all of this kind of happens under this umbrella of economic achievement, economic mobility, and poverty. And it was 60 years ago, roughly, that LBJ launched what he called the War on Poverty. And there were some great things in that, some things we should absolutely shore up and protect and not get rid of. That said, the basic question of the War on Poverty eventually begs the question, are we winning it or losing it? We started to have to ask this question about the war on drugs, right? And the answer sometimes is pretty vague and sometimes not so great. And to be fair, sometimes the answer is great. Sutherland Institute has decided to take this up as a long-running discussion. And each week they send us an exclusive segment of their upcoming podcast, Defending Ideas. And you get to hear it first. So this week, Nick Dunn of the Sutherland Institute sits down with a woman named Angela Ricciuti. And Angela is a fellow, senior fellow, and Rowe Scholar at American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank, where she is the lead researcher and author of studies on poverty, safety net programs, and family policy, and where they all intersect. And Angela says that some of the flaws in our anti-poverty programs have definitely held us up, but she says we never really started off on the right foot. Here is a segment of the upcoming Defending Ideas episode from the Sutherland Institute asking the question, are we losing the war on poverty?
So, Angela, you had a really excellent opinion piece in the National Review recently that I want to touch on, but then have a broader conversation about poverty and whether we're doing the right things as a country, and maybe some areas you could see that we ought to change at the federal level or even at the state level. And I want to start off by asking you about kind of the current state of the debate, because it seems to me that on the national level, so much of the momentum around how to help people get out of poverty is really focused on redistribution of resources. People argue about things like tax credits and welfare programs, and there's just a lot of momentum around how do we get more cash in the pockets of folks who are in poverty. But I want to ask you if that actually lines up with the original intent of the war on poverty, and if maybe we're getting some things wrong in how we've been approaching it.
Well, I certainly don't think that it aligns with kind of the original intent on the war on poverty. I mean, I think there's some debate about the motivation behind kind of some of those programs. But if you take President Lyndon Johnson at his word, 60 years ago this month, to be precise, when he declared the war on poverty, the vision that he presented to the country was one where the government tried to help people by lifting them up, giving them assistance so that they could be self-reliant and achieve their own success. And I certainly can relate to that message. I think it's very inspiring. And of course, how could any resident of the U.S., tax-paying citizen, how could they not agree with that and be kind of willing to support people who are really trying to better their lives? I think what we've seen, though, kind of evolve over the last 6 decades, in many ways is exactly the opposite of that. As you said, and I would even argue increasingly over the last probably decade plus, we've seen this shift in at least narrative and to some extent policy of the solution for low-income families is just sending them more money, redistributing more money from those who have resources to those who don't. Decades ago and throughout the 60s, 70s, into the 90s, there was a lot of debate about how government assistance can actually harm households because it disincentivizes employment, for example, it supports single parenthood. A lot of those discussions, they still exist, but I don't think they get the same priority that they previously got. And they certainly don't have, those arguments certainly don't have the same support among a broad spectrum of, I would argue, at least policymakers, maybe more so in the American public, but policymakers at least, I think have really shifted away from being concerned about some of those trade-offs associated with government policy. So yes, I think we've moved pretty far from where President Johnson was and really the country was 6 decades ago.
Why do you think, you mentioned there aren't really concerns about some of those trade-offs, and in particular to maybe drill down to the unintended consequences of safety net programs that can create a sense of dependency? That this was a big source of debate in the 90s when we had significant welfare reform. Since then there has been ample evidence that the changes made in the 1996 welfare reform legislation have yielded really strong benefits for households, including and especially single mother households in poverty. But because back then the discussion was, well, we don't want people to just be receiving benefits from these programs indefinitely. We want to, yes, stabilize them, but then help them move back towards self-sufficiency to where they no longer need government programs. Did it seem like there was a consensus back then, but now there isn't? Why do we keep forgetting this lesson as a country, that just creating reliance on government programs is not actually the best way to help folks out of poverty?
Yes, it's a great question. And to some extent, I think that policy has been a victim of its own success. I was a child in the 80s, but I was in college in the 90s. And so if you look at history of the 70s and the 80s, and people who experienced it, there were 6 times as many single mothers receiving cash welfare, which is a government check where people go to a government office, apply for it, and get sent a check every month. There were 6 times as many people receiving that type of government assistance than there is today. And there were very concerning outcomes associated with that. Lack of employment, tremendous increases in non-marital births, and just a deterioration of communities across the country that was largely attributed to those types of programs. So in the 80s, in the early 90s, I think there was a broad political consensus that that approach was not working. That certainly is not the environment we live in today, because we had a policy success, which was welfare reform in the late 90s, that really transformed that system. So no longer did we have this program that was sending checks to households with no strings attached, no expectation for employment, contributing to fatherlessness. Like we didn't have that system anymore. And so I think over the course of what's now been a quarter of a century, 25 years, people have just forgotten what that was like. And because we're not facing the same types of problems, not to say we're not facing problems, but not the same types of problems, it just becomes less of a priority. The employment rates among never married mothers have increased dramatically. I would argue largely because of policy, welfare reform, and the EITC, but we no longer are in a situation where only 30% of single mothers work. I think if we were in that situation, you would see much more of a concern about employment disincentives. The reason we don't have that concern is because many of our programs now are conditioned on work. The concern is that we're starting to move away from that because, like I said, we've been kind of a victim of our success.
So you mentioned, and you tie in some of your research on single mother households, especially in your piece in the National Review and a new paper that you just published with AEI. I want to get into that, but I don't want to leave yet this kind of general principle of how government should or should not engage in anti-poverty policy. And when it comes to providing resources for folks, I used this analogy in a previous podcast discussion, and I want to test it with you and see if you think this is an accurate way to frame it. And that's that the folks who say, well, we know how to solve poverty, just redistribute resources, increase tax credits or universal basic income, whatever the proposed solution is. For those folks, I would want to pitch them. It's kind of like if you had a friend who came to you and said, hey, I'm down on my luck. I lost my job. I need a place to stay. I need some cash. And you as a generous person said, sure, I'll help you out. Sleep on my couch for a while. I'll chip in some money to help you stabilize. If you did that, would somebody then say, hey, congratulations me, I have solved poverty for this person. This person is no longer poor because of me. And it would be no. It's, yes, you're stabilizing them, but you would also want to help connect them with job opportunities, with training opportunities, so they can get back on their feet and move towards self-sufficiency. But yet it seems to me that the push towards just a redistributive effort for anti-poverty programs is essentially doing that on a mass scale. Is that a fair analogy, or does it miss something?
I do think it's a fair analogy, and it certainly resonates with me. I think that we have in our personal and professional lives, we have expectations for individuals that we interact with, whether it's our friends, whether it's our children, parents. There's certain expectations, and part of that is kind of a give and take. I'm willing to help you, but I have expectations that then you will take that help and you will try to move yourself forward. And so I think, like I said, we have that in our personal and professional lives. And yet when it comes to government policy, the federal government is seen as something different, that it's not appropriate to have those expectations.
That again was an exclusive look at this lengthy conversation Sutherland Institute has had with AEI fellow Angela, I hope I'm saying this right, Raciti. They never say her last name in the audio they sent us. So, senior fellow and Rose Scholar at American Enterprise Institute, raising some really interesting questions about, again, in all of this happening, Sutherland Institute asking the question from a state perspective, from Utah's perspective, are we winning or losing what LBJ called the war on poverty? Are we making a positive difference with our public policy? Angela's saying mixed bag. There's some great things. There are some things that the safety net wise really created a backstop for certain things that happened before they existed that we don't want to repeat. But she said, as far as actually reducing the percentage of those who fall into what's considered below the poverty level by federal guidelines, you look back over the last few decades and the success is a little harder to spot. What do you think? And the follow-up question to that is, as Utah lawmakers begin to discuss this, what should they do, if anything? What can they do, if anything? Love to hear from you. 753-5868. What's your answer to the question, are we winning or losing the war on poverty? We'll be back right after this.
Joining a gym fashionably late this year? You're right on time. At Planet Fitness, we got you. Because now through January 31st, you can still join for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. And to make it even better, we have free fitness training, equipment for every workout, plus a free in-app crowd meter, and most clubs open 24 hours. Feel good about being fashionably late. It's the last chance to join Planet Fitness for just 24 cents down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Hurry. Deal ends January 31st. See Home Club for details.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. Is Peter there?
This is him.
Peter, hey, the reason I was calling is every week we like to recognize people in our community for going above and beyond. I understand you're an EMT, is that right?
I am.
Someone had contacted our radio stations anonymously, and they said that you continue to give special care and attention to those who are affected by tragic events on their hardest days. And so we've got a $40 gift card for you to Firehouse Subs as a way of saying thanks for what you do.
Well, I'm flattered.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Thanks again to Nick Dunn and crew at the Sutherland Institute for that exclusive excerpt from this discussion titled, Are We Losing the War on Poverty? Nick Dunn of Sutherland Institute, conservative think tank based in Salt Lake City, with Angela Raciti, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, discussing this and asking and trying to answer this question. A couple of great responses from listeners here coming through the chat, but we'd love to hear from you on air, 753-5868, if you want to weigh in. I know this is a tough one because we're talking public policy, and that oftentimes gets wonky or boring, if you want to say. So we can keep this very general, a specific general example of trying to answer this question when it comes to the war on poverty. One thing that we've done in this country for a really long time is assistance for families when it comes to food. That's a long-running program, and one that, as Angela says, as Nick says, you can point to and say, that's been successful. Could it be more successful? Could it be refined? Of course, everything can be made better. Have there been times when we've made changes and it made it worse? Absolutely. Trial and error. But the program itself has achieved what it set out to do, which is help families in periods of need, even if it's a long-term period. Because food is kind of something, especially families with children, can't go without. So you have programs like SNAP and WIC and things like that. So that's one example they point to as a safety net backstop, is I believe what Angela called it, that has done what it was designed to do. Another example I would provide, they don't get into this, Nick and Angela, but it's an example the legislature has been debating and will be spending, or if you prefer, throwing some money at in the budget this year, homelessness in Utah. This is an aspect of poverty. It also is something that, ties in with discussions about mental health and how people slip through the cracks in the first place, job training, accessibility, things like that. But that's an example of something that we've not had great success on. Utah has trial ballooned some things. One that worked really well is just fiscally impossible, which was basically they just bought, I think, 75 people an apartment for 6 months. It worked. Got them on their feet, and I think it was only like 1 in 10 of those 75 people ended up back on the streets. That's a successful poverty-fighting program, but it was really expensive and not realistic as a statewide solution to a growing problem of homelessness. So homelessness is a great example of how our poverty policy has not addressed an issue. So what should lawmakers do? They're going to be bringing this up. As Nick said in that excerpt you heard there, this is going to be a big part of the budgetary discussion over the next few weeks of the remainder of the legislative session. They're going to spend money. We know that. We can have the argument about maybe they shouldn't, but just telling you the truth, they're going to throw some money at these problems. Where should it go? 753-5868. We'll be back with more of For the People right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:30, and the news is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Lawmakers in Utah agreed unanimously Monday, in the Senate at least, that the Beehive State needs its own National Hockey League franchise. Punctuated with a round of applause, state representatives voted for a resolution supporting the NHL in Utah, something Utah Jazz owners Ryan and Ashley Smith and the Smith Entertainment Group, or SEG, have been seeking for quite some time. It's also something fans of the sports are more than ready for. The shot was taken officially on January 24th when SEG attempted to light the lamp with a formal request for a franchise expansion. As of Monday, the NHL has been tight-lipped on whether it was entertaining expanding a franchise to Salt Lake City, releasing only a short statement after Ryan Smith announced the request had been submitted. In it, the league wrote that it appreciates the interest and that it has been impressed by Ryan and Ashley Smith's commitment to their community. The statement concluded that Utah is a promising market and the league is looking forward to continuing discussions. The Utah Jazz ownership has been in talks with the NHL since 2022. Lawmakers on Monday passed the first hurdle in ensuring that drunk drivers responsible for fatalities face lengthier prison terms. The proposed legislation aims to extend the minimum sentence from 1 to 15 years to 5 to 15 years. Jeremy Mitchell, a father who lost his son Eli to a drunk driver almost 2 years ago, said that he lost his best friend. He lost something that he cannot ever get back into his life. The bill's goal is to provide victims' families with more time before having to confront the offender's parole, a process often fraught with reliving the tragedy. Art Brown, president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving Utah, who also lost a grandchild to a drunk driver, echoed the need for more certainty for victims and greater accountability for offenders. The bill is now set to be debated by the full House. Utah is known for lots of things that put smiles on faces, but right now it's also making wallets really happy at the gas pump, as the state currently has some of the lowest fuel prices in the nation. Although AAA reports the Utah average for a gallon of regular sitting at $2.64, Gas Buddy shows several stations across northern Utah at much lower prices, some as low as $2.28. As of Monday, only Wyoming at a penny cheaper is lower than Utah in the U.S., although the Beehive State was the country's cheapest as last Thursday, that is. Julianne Paradas with AAA said something that could be happening right now, and it's actually helping Utah for a change, is that there is a lot of severe weather occurring, particularly in the East Coast and Texas, and the severe weather can really hurt oil production, gas production, and transportation. Utah may not be feeling it like other states right now, so that's probably helping the state out. While some of the biggest weekly changes in gas prices involved rising prices, Utah bucked the trend and dropped a whopping 12 cents per gallon in the last week, according to AAA. KBNU News Time is 5:34.
The colder weather is here. Are your quilts and blankets looking dingy? Is your winter coat or jacket dirty enough to stand in the corner just by itself? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It'll take no time at all to freshen up everything. They have the 55 and 80-pound washers, the biggest around, and great big dryers, too, and it costs a whole lot less than dry cleaning. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town, on the corner of 5th East, 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham at 1st East, 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. Sunday's deadly drone attack on U.S. troops in Jordan has a Georgia community in mourning. Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and Specialist Brianna Moffitt were all from the Army Reserve 718th Engineer Company at Fort Moore. Moffitt's parents, Francine and Bernard.
When you get the news, it's like someone just took your heart and took your soul right out of your body.
The White House says it will respond to the attack. The House Homeland Security Committee is pushing through a 2-day-long markup hearing on articles of impeachment against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush says she's cooperating with the Justice Department investigation into allegations she misused federal funds. New York City's City Council passing a law requiring police to record the apparent race, gender, and ages of people who are stopped for questioning. This is ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear, hazy and patchy fog. Overnight low in the mid-20s, partly cloudy in the morning, then mostly sunny. Patchy fog in the morning and haze through the day, high in the lower 40s. And then by Thursday, a 40% chance of rain developing in the afternoon, mostly cloudy mid-40s. Rain likely Thursday night into Friday. We've been kind of in the icebox compared to yesterday. 42 is our high on Monday. Today we've been to 32 here at KBNU. Right now it's 31. Weather brought to you by Roof Rescue, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry from minor repairs to complete roof replacement, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind. Go to roofrescueusa.com or call 435-999-4268. You can always get more news at cachevalleydaily.com.
Since 1896, couples throughout Utah have shopped S.E. Needham Jewelers for their diamond engagement ring. We offer our integrity price guarantee on a beautiful selection of unique, high-quality diamond engagement rings. Gals, you'll love our rings, and guys, you'll love our prices. We price our diamonds at internet pricing. Review the web and come see, hands-on, our beautiful selection. Shop and compare. Get S.E. Needham quality at internet pricing, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest on the U.S. response to the deadly drone attack on American troops in Jordan. Plus, what will the retaliation mean in an election year? Also, Bud Light's Bounce Back campaign will now include the Super Bowl. Hear what parent company Anheuser-Busch has planned. And how to know if you've just been given a quiet promotion at work. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. We'll be wrapping up just a few minutes early tonight so we can transition to the Aggie pregame. Now, Lewis will be here in the studio right at 6 o'clock. Until then, still taking calls if you'd like to weigh in on this week's episode of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas, 753-5868. Where we've discussed it through the hour so far, barring any additional calls or comments from listeners. We'll move on to what happened on Capitol Hill today. Let me just put it this way. It was a relatively quiet day on the Hill, which doesn't mean a lot didn't happen. It just means that the first 2 weeks and this week so far have been pretty pretty loud and a lot of activity. It was a day of wonky kind of sleeper bills. The only potential hot button issue is a discussion over union dues via one piece of legislation. This is an interesting one. It's one of the few ways. So Utah, a right-to-work state, and our lawmakers have collectively, the majority in the House and the Senate, State House and State Senate, have made it known they are, unless it's the police union, they're anti-union. That's the one union that they accept, even though, ironically, it functions just like the other unions. But one thing they've never been willing to do when it came to chipping away at the power of unions, even here in Utah, was take away direct dues. And that is basically where someone can elect to have their union dues taken out of their paycheck. And Representative Jordan Tusher has a bill that would do that. This pops up every couple of years, and like I say, it's one of the few things Utah lawmakers are not willing to do. They say that despite how they feel about unions, this is one of consumer, political consumer, if you will, just ease. This makes life easier. If someone wants to deduct something voluntarily from their paycheck, we're not going to ban that. We're not going to be in the business of banning that. A more controversial discussion that came up today was leaf blowers. And the reason I say today was kind of a quiet day on the Hill is that this one, I would guess, is probably not got a long lifespan. I don't know. There is a piece of legislation that has been propelled, as I understand it. It doesn't actually exist right now. So it's a rumored, well, more than rumored. It's a confirmed piece of legislation that is being worked on. And they have up until the last couple of weeks of the session to actually populate it with language and make it public for people to read and see. And it is driven by the Division of Air Quality, they were tasked by Utah lawmakers 2 years ago with getting creative, coming up with ways to improve Utah's air pollution problems, our wintertime inversion and our summer ozone problems. And the Division of Air Quality floated a restriction. Now, they were clear to say they're not endorsing this. They floated it to say to lawmakers, basically, what do you think? And this restriction would be on certain types of yard care equipment. These are the most emissions spewing two-stroke engine types, and particularly the, in my opinion, unnecessary ones like leaf blowers. This is my personal joke. A leaf blower is a gas-powered broom. And what happened to us? Really, as a society, when you have reached the gas-powered broom portion of at that point, you need to reassess some decisions as a society. I'm being facetious, of course, but really, I mean, you think about it. It is one of the most pointless and unnecessary and grossly polluting pieces of lawn care equipment. A chainsaw pollutes just as much, but it runs a much shorter period of time, and at the same time, it is hard to replace a chainsaw. A leaf blower, easy to replace. It's a broom.
They have a lot of electric ones.
Yeah,
right
they have electric ones. You can get battery-powered leaf blowers if you're wedded to the idea of doing what a broom could do, but having it take longer and be louder.
Where is it? In California, they have outlawed gas-powered, or they're trying to outlaw gas-powered lawnmowers?
I think they did in California. I think they actually do not allow their sale anymore. I'm not. I should double-check that. That's not what the Utah Air Quality Division was proposing for lawmakers, by the way. They were proposing nothing. They were just floating to lawmakers some things to discuss for this upcoming piece of legislation that, again, lawmakers told them 2 years ago they had to do. They said, come back to us in 2 years with some suggestions for an actual bill that will make improvements to Utah's air quality problems. And, of course, this is being dialed up to 11 now that we're potentially going to get the Olympics, because we don't want those shots on national TV of Utah's air quality problems during the Olympics for the world to see. So lawmakers are going to be increasing the pressure on state agencies and more to get creative and come up with some solutions that will at least make a dent in it. And really, this is kind of a cultural thing. Let's be honest. And I don't say that in a critical way, because I'm a contributor in my own way too. If you came to me tomorrow and said, for the good of the planet and the good of our own health when it comes to air quality, because this air is not great for us. It's increasing, the instances of cancer. It's causing lung and respiratory issues. It's dangerous for very young people and very old people. It can trigger a heart attack. I mean, it's not a joke. But at the same time, if someone came to me and said, you can make a personal dent in this by giving up your fossil fuel powered truck and using public transit and a bike, my lifestyle doesn't suit my lifestyle right now. And I can make all kinds of excuses, like professionally, in the day job, it would be impossible for me to meet some of my commitments. That is true. But could I make some changes to change that? Probably. Do I want to? No. And that's the reality. Maybe that's selfish. Well, it is selfish. But that's where we're all at, to be honest with you. There will be a time, I think, when that changes more. Because I'm not anti-public transit. I love Front Runner. If you're not in a hurry and you need to go to downtown Salt Lake and you choose to drive it, you're making a bad decision. Because you could stop at 24th Street in Ogden and for $9 get a round-trip ticket that also gives you some Trax access that will get you several blocks east of the Front Runner stop at North Temple or the Transit Center further down, and several blocks west as well. You can go anywhere you want in downtown on Trax. You can actually get out to 9th and 9th and even further south if you want to with a $9 round-trip ticket. And you don't have to drive through all that traffic on the freeway. You don't have to find a place to park in downtown Salt Lake. If you're going to an event in downtown Salt Lake and you can add an extra 50 minutes of travel time to the front and the back of that trip, Front Runner is going to be so much more fun for you. I'm a huge fan of public transit. But do I use public transit here in Cache Valley as much as I could? No. Should I pedal more for my own health? Yes. Do I? No. And I think that's where most people are. Now, I am very conscious of my idling. I'm trying to be better about it because I've noticed my own problem with coming out of some place, especially in the cold months, starting my vehicle, looking at my phone for what I think 3 minutes, but it's actually 13. So I'm trying to be more conscious. Mayor Danes made me feel guilty about that when she was in a couple weeks ago. So I'm trying to be more conscious about my idling. And we all could do things like that. And we could all, back to the proposal from the Division of Air Quality, we could all lose our leaf blowers. And I'm fully admitting I'm coming at this one from a biased angle because every time I see a leaf blower, I don't really think about our air quality or the planet or climate change. I think, really? That's a gas-powered broom. You don't need that. This is my old man shouts at clouds moment, I think. My get off my lawn moment. The minute I saw leaf blowers becoming a thing. But seriously, the Utah Division of Air Quality is saying this is one of those things that they want lawmakers to talk about. Again, they're not proposing anything specific. They're saying to lawmakers, look, 2 years ago you told us to come back with a list of things that would make a difference. Here's one that we found. In certain pollution-prone areas, certain tools, yard care equipment, basically, used during the summer months when the ozone is bad, which is basically the summer version of the winter inversions that trap that pollution. And these are some things they could do. Now, they're saying, obviously, like California, again, as Bill and I have discussed, I'm not sure, and I tried to Google and couldn't find it. I'm not sure if they did outlaw or if they're talking about it, leaf blowers and certain other gas-powered two-stroke engine lawn care equipment.
I don't know. Does California, do they lose their leaves in the fall? I guess maybe some areas.
I think they have less of an issue with it than we do. But still, sweep. I mean, a broom is like, what, $20 for a decent one? Maybe $40 if you really, really want to go fancy on a big wide head broom.
And it's good exercise.
And it's good exercise, and it takes in fact, I would argue... actually, I won't tell this story. It might allow you to identify the person. No, I'm going to. There is an individual that works for a government agency here in Cache Valley that you can see on a regular basis at a certain stretch. This is what I do. I won't identify the road. There's a certain road where there's a certain building that belongs to a certain government agency. Might be a city, might be a county. I'm going to be vague so this person isn't identified. And every fall, I drive past this little driveway to this building, this facility every day. And every fall, I see an employee of this government entity out there with a leaf blower every day, moving the leaves off of it. And then the wind blows from the canyon and blows all the leaves back on. That is unnecessary pollution. You cannot justify, even if you want to say it doesn't pollute that much, you cannot justify any pollution.
I guess you could say if the wind is blowing ferociously, that would help clean up the air, I guess.
Sure. The wind blows the pollution out, right? But I'm not going to shed a tear if Utah lawmakers say, all right, leaf blowers, you can't buy them in Utah. I don't think they're ever going to say that. But I love the idea of them having this conversation and making us all think more about it. Again, the Division of Air Quality is not proposing a ban on leaf blowers, chainsaws, tillers, trimmers, anything like that. What they're suggesting is that this is one area where there are a lot more emissions that could be reduced than has been previously documented. And so what they're suggesting lawmakers toy with is the idea of public education campaigns and raising awareness of this. This was amazing. Representative Casey Snyder, our own Representative Snyder, Republican from the south end of the valley, Paradise area, he said, he didn't know how effective this would be, because he said, so one of the things that they talked about, so Rep. Snyder points out, he said, if we have wildfire season like we had in the past August or July, the reality is you won't be using your leaf blower or weed eater a single day in some of those months, or you shouldn't be. And that's a good point. He says you're not going to be able to have commercial landscaping businesses, though, operate off of batteries. And that's also a good point. Although I would counter, a commercial landscaping business can buy brooms and get the job done faster than a leaf blower, more effectively than a leaf blower, and don't pollute, and brooms are cheaper. It is the most pointless yard care tool that has ever been invented. Caller on the line, 753-5868, if you'd like to chime in here. Bill, sorry, my browser chat page has frozen. Jordan on the line. Jordan, thank you. Sorry, technical failure there from our chat.
Oh, no trouble. I think there's a place for all kinds of tools like that, and I see your point. And I use brooms a lot. I think the trouble that you might find, like you say, commercial landscaping, getting work. Obviously, I think they have trouble getting workers to begin with, and let's be honest. I think they couldn't get them maybe to use a broom. I'm like, there's certain I think places where and boy, I think this would be hard to police. We're getting down to we're criminalizing that a leaf blower is bad or small gas engines. I don't know if we're regressing or what we're doing at this point, because I just don't know. And then the Olympics too, I don't know if that's, we've had them once, and you look at, is it really? Boy, I just don't know. It seems we get down a slippery slope, and then it's hard to say, well, this person, are we going to get a police force or something to stop the people using? I just don't know. There's just more questions and answers than just a lot. I really don't know how you start and stop this, and if it leads us down a path of I just don't know where it would lead, and those that are doing a profession. I'm like, let's keep the environment as good as we can, but if you need to use it, I just don't know what and maybe there isn't a right answer.
No, I think a chainsaw is a great example of what I believe you're trying to express there. There are a few things that do the job of a chainsaw like a chainsaw, right? And when you need that tool, you need that tool. I make fun of the leaf blower because it's the easiest example to make fun of. But yeah, I'm with you on this one. There are some tools that pollute that you cannot get the job done without, especially in an industrial setting, a professional setting, but even in our own yards. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I don't like the idea of outlawing. You know what I do like, though? I love the idea of lawmakers spending some money to educate people, because this is one of the things that was brought up today. Operating a leaf blower for 1 hour pollutes as much as loading your family up in a 6-cylinder car and driving it to Disneyland. I think we should spend money telling people that, and then maybe mocking a little bit and saying, a broom's pretty cheap, and we all need the exercise. But yeah, you make a great point. When you get to the point of banning, outlawing, I don't like it. And if there are some tools, as you said, Jordan, that nothing else is going to cut it. I think chainsaw is the best example. If you're cutting something that needs a chainsaw, good luck finding something that does it as well. Jordan, appreciate your call. Great way to wrap this whole conversation up. We are wrapping up just a few minutes early today to make time to transition to Aggie pregame with Al Lewis right after this here on KVNU Logan.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. Is Peter there?
This is him.
Peter, hey, the reason I was calling is every week we like to recognize people in our community for going above and beyond. I understand you're an EMT, is that right?
I am.
Someone had contacted our radio stations anonymously, and they said that you continue to give special care and attention to those who are affected by tragic events on their hardest days. And so we've got a $40 gift card for you to Firehouse Subs as a way of saying thanks for what you do.
Well, I'm flattered.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
What's more frustrating than being in an accident? Being in an accident that's not your fault. Insurance, doctor's visits, paperwork, surgery. You need someone to help show you the way. Call the Advocates. They've got your back. With zero cost to you, yes, I said zero, they can help you find out if you have a case. With offices in Logan, they will give you that personalized service to make those frustrations just fade away. Call the Advocates today at 801-355-5550 or chat online at utahadvocates.com. That's utahadvocates.com.
This is Jay, owner of Daryl's Appliance. For 54 years, our desire has been to make life easier for anyone who owns an ailing appliance. At Daryl's, we have the fix for your appliance headaches. Our trained technicians and large parts department are here to get your appliance up and running fast. Call Daryl's, your appliance experts, and we will take care of the rest. Experience the Daryl's difference west on Airport Road.
See Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Hello, I'm Ashley Nate, Operations Manager at Cache Valley Bank. My calm and caring personality combined with my quick problem-solving skills help me provide my customers with the personalized attention and exceptional service they deserve. And I look forward to providing you with that same experience. Come visit the Preston branch and ask for Ashley, or give me a call to see what opening an account with Cache Valley Bank can do for you. I look forward to meeting you. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Hi, this is Congressman Mike Simpson. Working for our men and women in uniform and those who have served our nation has been one of my top priorities in Congress. My local office is hosting a Veterans Resource Fair on Wednesday, February 21st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you are a veteran who resides in Idaho's 2nd District, please swing by the Twin Falls County West Building located at 630 Addison Avenue West, Conference Rooms A and B. Contact us at 208-734-7219 for more information regarding the Veterans Resource Fair.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Hi, this is Terrence Howard. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer, but you can prevent this disease. If you're 50 or older, get screened. Please, do everything that you can to stay around for yourself and for your family. Screening saves lives.
A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Following the big stories, News Talk KVNU, Logan, proud to be locally owned and operated by the Cache Valley Media Group. KVNU Aggie Game Day for Utah State basketball starts now. Longtime voice of the Aggies, Al Lewis, and all-time USU great Jalen Moore are here to preview the game. Plus interviews and stats and notes for all the Aggie fans to get ready for the Utah State action coming up. KVNU Aggie basketball is sponsored by Daryl's Appliance, Advanced Heating and Air.